We got Austin Jones over here today. How are you?
I'm doing mighty fine. How are you?
Mighty fine, huh? Dude.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been fucking forever, man. When was the last time we actually talked about something?
I don't know. The last lengthy conversation we had was when you still lived here.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
You came back to visit once. I don't know.
I did. Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Where did you stay when you came? I don't remember. Did you stay here?
Let's see. So, where was it? I stay with Evan. That's what happened.
That's right.
Yeah, I stay with Evan, his room.
So we still didn't even get a whole lot of time then either. I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, because right now you're living with Andoni, and I wasn't staying with Andoni at the time, anyways. I guess he was living on campus. So. Yeah. But fuck, dude. You know, right after I got out of college and I was working at the Apple Store, Andoni actually let me stay at his place and crash on in his open room without the RA finding out, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I actually remember that.
Yeah? Dude, fucking job searching is a bitch. It's no joke.
Jeez, tell me about it, man.
Dude, so it's actually one of the first things I want to talk about real quick was so I just made a portfolio for some pieces, right?
Okay.
Some pieces that I've done for this podcast and for a couple of the other projects and stuff that I have, but
when you say pieces, what do you mean? Can you I know you have the podcast on there. What other things are you talking about?
Yeah, so posts that I've made that were compelling for the Broklahomies podcast, and also for the events associate gig that I do, because I do an events associate part-time job at my friend's startup, and a lot of the content that I made for that.
Or one there?
From here, it's a Bay Area startup.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, so ever since I compiled a proper portfolio or a more proper portfolio, I've been getting contacted by recruiters out the ass. So it's been I've gotten 3 or 4 recruiters contacted me today.
Where have you been posting your portfolio stuff?
Dude, I just go to LinkedIn and I put the portfolio in the description. If not, then the portfolio is still linked on my my resume. It's at the bottom of my highlights reel. But
that's cool.
That's my thing. So I'm super excited. It might not be super long until what the fuck? Yeah, the recording cut off for just a second. It says system overload. Disk overload.
No. What are you recording it through?
Just GarageBand.
Oh, really?
I have Photoshop. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be that heavy. Heck. Anyways, it's probably just Apple telling me to buy a new fucking MacBook Pro.
Right.
Yeah.
I was having trouble with Pro Tools before this too.
Should have technical malfunctions. Yeah. Dude, so what the fuck is happening with your storage unit? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
So okay, I'll backtrack a little bit. You met Chris, right? My drummer?
Yeah.
My
your drummer?
Yeah, well, I call him my drummer, and he calls me his guitarist too, but we do our own projects and whatnot.
We're each other's.
Well, yeah. No, but we were doing a video project, one that I kind of told you that I was planning on doing a long time ago. And we ended up actually doing it. Some of my songs I got together and booked a studio session in Bricktown. It was at the studio that I always record at, the one that I run sessions at and whatnot. I got another recording engineer. I got Jordan to come in and do camera stuff.
Nice.
So we had a big project, and we just had the hardest time getting everyone together in a place to actually rehearse, because not having a dedicated place, or you have to go off other places' schedules, it turned into a nightmare.
And that was the problem. So what was the solution?
That was the problem. Well, we showed it to the thing. The video thing turned out to not be as great as I'd hoped it was because we were under rehearsed, like hilariously under rehearsed. So,
I remember you were super excited about that too. So it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. No, it's fine. So I had texted Chris the next day and was like, "Hey man, we really need a fucking place to like rehearse, like for real."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, I agree." So I went online and I found a handful of spots. Started calling up places, storage unit places mostly they were like insulated and had electricity. And
why was that your first thought? Like storage units? Like why is your brain default to storage units? Did it?
Cheap.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, they're cheap. And
do people usually do that? Is that like a normal thing people do with storage units?
I kind of like. There's like a weird thing for. I looked it up, and most people said like, "Oh, you can't do that." And so I just thought like, well, if the person who owns it says that I can, that's what I'm going off of. So I called everybody. I don't know. It was just an idea. It was an idea. That was my first idea. That's pretty
original.
I guess.
That's pretty original. Like, a lot of people wouldn't think, like, oh, I gotta fucking rehearse. Like, most people would think, like, studio, you know? But then, like, well, I mean, you can't afford a studio at this point.
I guess my thought for it was back when I was, like, in high school and then, like, first year of college before I really, really broke away from Texas and became more permanent Oklahoma City. I was still playing with a band in Texas, and one of the guy's aunts owned a moving company, and they had warehouses everywhere, and so they would occasionally let us set up in their warehouses just because we needed space. Because that's kind of where I got the initial idea. Like, I can't afford a whole warehouse. Obviously.
Gotcha, yeah. So from your perspective, it was kind of like a logical progression of thought. It was like warehouse, which is storage, and then like a storage unit to storage unit, you know? Yeah. So, because the thing is, like, from my perspective, it's like, that's fucking outlandish. Like you take a storage unit and then you turn it into a studio. That's insane. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Well, yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't feel like it's that crazy. I don't know. Like, a lot of people. There have been a handful of people that have like gone online to like look it up. At least from what I've seen, because I looked it up online to see if it was even something you could do. And a lot of people pretty much just said no, and like that was kind of the online consensus. But I found a guy, and like I said, I called one place and said no, and it turns out they were actually had all their units booked out by a third party person, and they were like, you know what, let's see if we have some other people in your area. So they found one that's like super under the radar. Nobody fucking knows about them. They don't have their own website or anything. There's no way I would have been able to find them on my own. And he has like no clients. And so he said, I basically don't give a shit as long as you pay me. Like, fair enough.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were able to break even on it though, because
already?
Well, like, yeah, last month, because it's not expensive at all. The place is cheap, has electricity that we don't have to pay our own utility for, as long as we don't use it as like a Bitcoin mining farm or some shit like that. Yeah. Like, as long as we're keeping it reasonable, like, the amount of electricity is kind of trivial for the whole, because it's just one unit out of the entire facility.
And even if it gets, like, insane, then you'd probably be willing to compensate him for the electricity if that becomes an issue.
If it does become an issue, yeah. But we're able to break even because we sub-rent it out hourly for rehearsal space. And I got that idea from some other businesses. There's one in Austin in particular that I used last time I did a gig there, like a month or two ago. And I got in contact with the drummer I knew there, and he said, "Hey, there's this spot of whatever." Yeah. Anyway, I kind of had the idea from that, and then I looked up to see if there's any in Oklahoma City, and there's one in Oklahoma City, and they're kind of pricey, and the gear that they actually have there, like, to provide, is not the best in my opinion.
Okay.
I thought we can do better. Because if it's a spot that we're going to be using also, I can leave my personal stuff there. And Chris actually has a practice drum kit that he had just set up in his bedroom.
I remember you telling me about that part, yeah.
Because he had that one, and he at one point decided that he didn't think it was good enough for him to perform with, but it still sounds good. So he fixed it up a little, got new heads and new cymbals, and I got a new snare drum. And we set up a drum set there that sounds really good.
That's fucking awesome.
We have that. I keep my amp there. We got a bass amp and like, a PA speaker, and we can rent it out hourly for rehearsal space.
Like, imagine if you were, let's say, 16, right? And you're forming your first band. You've been playing bass for 5 years, you know? Mm-hmm. And you got together with a couple of your friends from school, and y'all are going to have the first rehearsal for the first time. But you're like, oh, fuck, well, where are we going to do it? And then there's like this alternative cheap option where it's like, well, how much are you charging per hour? Is that okay to ask?
No, yeah. We charge. I'm kind of a business owner now in a sense. I might as well fucking.
Yeah, you are. It is absolutely a business. Yeah.
It's only $12 per hour, which compared to most places is
$12
really cheap. Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Like the one. I told you there's one other one in Oklahoma City, and they charge $25 an hour. So my thought that we had for $12 an hour is like, well, if we make a half price, then
it's absolutely
we're undercutting by a lot. But
you're half cutting is what you're doing. You're literally going under half of what it costs for them to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And when it really comes down to it, most people who rehearse don't rehearse like, an hour or two. They rehearse for multiple days,
exactly.
So like 3 or 4 hours at a time.
Exactly.
So we're able to we broke even with a single customer last month.
And that's the first month of owning it, right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, so
you undercut and broke even the first month.
If you really want to think about profit, though, then we made we didn't make a monetary profit, but we got a free rehearsal space out of it. So in a sense, it's like
you actually you didn't just break even. You broke even and got yourself a free place to rehearse, which is fantastic. That's really great. That's really worth your labor. Yeah,
and we rehearsed there. I've for my music. I've actually held lots of rehearsals, and Chris has already been recording there for a little while because he does audio engineering, and he's like an R&B artist as well. Uh-huh. So he records there, and he brought one of his personal people there also, and that was his pocket money because he recorded it
because he's making money. Yeah. Dude, remember when we were talking about like earning an alternate source of income, when I was over there. And we're like, oh, fuck, we should crowdsource a house and rent it out or something. Yeah, well, this is much cooler. Yeah. This is so much cooler.
Well, I think that it works better for me because it's relevant to what I do anyway, so I'm more knowledgeable in this particular subject, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's basically exactly. Like you're being the musician that you are instead of the fucking Monopoly guy. Because that's what we were trying to be. We were trying to get canes and fancy mustaches.
Fucking monocles.
Yeah, exactly. We're not from Wall Street. I don't know what's Wall Street. I think of the gentlemanly look as a Wall Street associate. I don't know. I'm fucked up in the head. But dude, fucking, that's crazy. That's actually insane. So you started basically. This is like an up and coming business. And the thing is, here's another crazy part is. Imagine if you were to make enough revenue off of this and then open up your actual physical location where you own the land.
Yeah, that's kind of the ultimate goal.
The other thing
that I'm thinking of is if we are able to expand to that point, I'm probably not going to be living in Oklahoma City anymore. Because as of right now, I'm looking pretty heavily at Austin.
Well, if you could actually just open one in Austin too. You could do.
I could, but the market there is way more competitive. If I have an established business and a reputation, I feel like it might be easy. I mean, I don't know. It might not be easier to transfer back to a different city that way. But we'll have to see. Either way, though, even if I'm in Austin, this is a passive income thing. I'd have to get a new amp to leave there so I could bring mine or some my personal gear back there. If we're making enough revenue to expand, then that's not something that's going to be a huge deal. Mm-hmm. But that's gonna be a necessary expense. Another thing that if I end up moving, will have to be a necessary expense. If is hiring somebody to hey, can you go lock it up and unlock it between clients?
I see. Yeah, definitely.
But even so, if you crunch the numbers on it, it could be lucrative, but. Like I said, I'm keeping my.
I think it's a matter of time until it is lucrative because it's eventually going to go that direction if you keep doing it, especially with how cheap you're providing the services for it.
Yeah, If we do expand to a nicer location and have nicer equipment, though, we probably will have to raise price. If it comes to that. I want to keep it as low as we can, especially while we're keeping the quality the way it is. Because the biggest reason that I want it here is the actual physical square footage isn't as big as our competitor, but the actual service itself we provide, the equipment that we're able to provide, and the leniency and what's the word I'm looking for? Not leniency. The flexibility that we're able to provide is more than anybody than I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's your advantage, is that you're small enough to be able to do whatever you need to for the customer.
As long as that's the case, we're able to keep it exactly where it is. But if we get to a point where you have to expand, we have to start, if we get busy enough to where we're booked all day, some of that flexibility is just going to kind of have to go away,
Yeah, dude. Flexibility is super underrated. Like, you could totally make like a plan where it's like $50 to have 3 hours of rehearsal and a free fucking blowjob, or something like that.
I don't know about that one, Chief, but
yeah. Sorry, that was my fantasy. Sorry, but yeah. But the point is that you're able to add.
If anybody listening has any ideas, feel free to talk about it. Like,
dude, fucking 3 hours of rehearsals and like fucking chicken and waffles or some shit like that. Like.
Dude, okay,
that
brings me to an idea I had when I was still at Oklahoma Christian before I transferred to UCO. Like, during finals week, how we always did, like, deep Friday or something, and all of our friends would be together, and I'd cook for everybody.
I never attended one, but yeah, I was aware.
I got a deep fryer for my 18th birthday, because that's the kind of person and family that I'm
That
from.
is the Texas.
Yeah. But I got a deep fryer for my 18th birthday, and so
Remember
for
the
Dead Week, the Friday... the Friday of Dead Week, like, before finals, we had Deep Friday, and I tell everybody, just bring something and I'll fry it. I don't care what it is, I'll fry it. Just bring it.
That's
and
hilarious.
then I made some, like, baby corn dogs and, like, chicken and stuff like that, just stereotypical fried things.
Nice, delicious.
Yeah, that was our, but, sorry, ADHD. The idea that I had kind of after that I never did or, like, followed through with, or anyway, was like a fried chicken delivery service on Dead Week, because everyone doesn't want to go anywhere, and nobody at OC ever goes anywhere. Like, nobody leaves campus. It's such a bubble, and it's like, well, I could just, like, have a person or two deliver food to people's dorms.
I mean,
for, like, Dead Week.
You could have made a great catch line there too. Be like the service motto could be like, to let you know that your mind's not the only fried thing, or some shit like that.
I don't know. This is an idea I had.
Yeah.
What do you think of it for real? It's kind of weird, but I feel like it, like, especially on, like, a small
I think
campus.
the weirdness is what would get it by, if anything. And the thing is, who doesn't like fried chicken? I mean, it's just like most everyone likes fried chicken. I'm allergic to the gluten, so it's a problem.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, I love fried chicken though. Like Popeyes, fucking favorite like fast food joint. Because the thing is, the chicken is really great. I mean, there's better like
Popeyes is great.
Popeyes is great.
I will say that I'm partial to Chick-fil-A and Cane's. Both of those are pretty
Chick-fil-A is good. Cane's is known for its sauce. I know that. It's not bad, but the thing it's just not Popeyes for me. Because the thing is, like, it's a price cut and a flavor boost for me.
Okay.
With Popeyes, it's cheaper. The thing is, like, I'll go to a Popeyes and some guy like, I'm like looking at the meals, right, and it's like $11 for like a 5-piece chicken basket, which is already cheap, right?
Yeah. And
then the guy looks through the window and he's like, "Hey, we got a deal going right now for a 5-piece at $7." I'm like, $7? That's fucking ridiculous. And so obviously I order that. I just pick out on chicken. I can't even finish the whole thing. And I got enough for like the next day. Fried chicken is not good the next day. It's crazy. Deals all the time. Man, I don't understand.
Remember at Sean Cummings, you would always just get a beer and be like,
Irish
I'll
pub.
just deal with it. Yeah, the Irish pub.
Dude, sometimes the Guinness is worth it sometimes.
Yeah. Is it as worth it as the fried chicken, or is it more worth it?
I've had both together, by the way, before, because both are very, very worth it. So when I was dating that Korean girl, when I was here,
Oh yeah,
I remember one night we went out, and usually you're supposed to have with fried chicken, you're supposed to have a lager, right? I think that's the consensus. It's supposed to be like a light,
if that was a consensus,
easy to
I
drink
wasn't
one.
aware of it, but I'll take it. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's like it's a lager, something clear, something not super overbearing because the chicken has a strong flavor. But nah, my retarded ass was like, I'm gonna get myself a stout because that's what I want right now. Because Guinness is my favorite stout.
I like milk stouts. I tried one yesterday. I don't remember what it was. I was at Hop Dotties, or however you say it. It's actually apparently from Austin, according to Kelly. But it's a burger bar, and they have like craft beers on draft and stuff. It's pretty cool. And I went there. I met up with a friend maybe yesterday, the day before, or something like that. Delicious. And I got a pretty bomb milk stout.
I've never liked a milk stout I've ever tried before. I've never liked one.
Really?
Or a chocolate stout, for that matter. I've never liked a milk stout or a chocolate stout.
I'm not always a fan of chocolate stouts. I always like milk stouts, and I always like coffee stouts.
It's too sweet for me a lot of times that I've had.
No, those ones, at least from what they're rich, but they're not sweet.
Any carbonation at all, or?
I mean, just as much as a regular stout.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's really interesting. I'd like to find a stout that I like, and if it could be gluten free, that'd be fucking perfecto. But yeah, we'll see, dude. I was in San Francisco and I tried this brewery that makes gluten removed beer, but doesn't advertise it. I don't remember the actual company name, but the thing is, it made gluten free beer that wasn't advertised as gluten removed beer that wasn't advertised as gluten removed because the owner has celiacs.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want the stigma of it being, like a gluten free brand. He wants it to be just competitive beer that happens to be gluten removed.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense. I fuck with that.
Yeah, stop. I vibe with that. But yeah, like the idea is that like we, like I tried this beer and it was fan-fucking-tastic. It really was great. It was one of the best beers that I had to this day, right? Especially from a can. Right. And on top of that, also gluten removed. So, okay.
We'll have to try that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, is he? He's not with us today, is he?
Danny. No, he's not. So, let's see. So what Danny is doing right now is since our time zones are like super different, right? Because he has Europe time. It's either him and I do a podcast together, or one of us and a guest do a podcast together, and it's a decision we have to make. And then I've already done like 2 or 3 podcasts with Danny. And I've done 2 podcasts with Nick already. Holy shit.
You have.
Yeah. So the thing is, like just to diversify the people that are coming on here, because we want people to listen and be like, whoa, this person's really different, or whoa, that's a really cool idea. And the thing is, like right now with Broklahomies, we're kind of like the whole idea is that like I want to help out people that are like in college or graduating college.
Yeah.
Like, find out whatever the fuck they want to do. Because the thing is, like, whenever I was in college, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do, man. And the thing is, like, I should explore more stuff.
Man, that's a good mission statement. I agree that most people don't have direction. I've always been. I feel like I'm blessed to have always known what I want to do. And
you've had that direction.
I've always wanted to write music, and that's what I do. It's what I find whatever ways I can to do that. And not everybody has that. At least from what I've talked about, people.
Yeah, exactly.
They go to school and then they change majors or they do something and they realize when they're 3/4 of the way done that they fucking hate it, and there's nothing you can do about it at that point. You want to start over.
Same. That's exactly what happened to me.
You blew 5 digits, of dollars.
Yeah.
You can't change your mind.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
If you want to talk about what's wrong, I know that it's not wise to just complain about the system, but I think if you want to solve that solution, you need to start thinking about it when you're younger. And it should be based on what skills you have. It's such kind of a cliche thing to say, like, oh, everybody's good at something, and just because you're not good at this thing doesn't mean that they're not like a extremely talented like swimmer or a really talented writer or whatever. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and I do think that's true. But
that is absolutely true.
Schools. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. Schools don't really do that. When I say schools, I mean like middle schools and high schools and whatnot.
It's really hard and it's rare if you get a good teacher that actually cares enough to like push you in a direction.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can't just be like 2 fucking teachers in the whole school that are like that. It has to be the school centered around that concept.
And fucking God bless those teachers too, because without them it'd be even worse.
Well, you need some sort of general education. You need to be well-rounded as a person and knowledgeable in multiple fields. But it should be centered around finding a person finding their strengths and realizing wow, maybe a career built around what you're good at would be best for you. But nobody knows what they're best at. Nobody or even if they know what they're best at, they don't know how to apply overlap.
It. Sometimes you got to find the overlap between what you like and what you're good at, because there's everyone has different skill sets, and different interests at the same time. And I think the biggest thing is that for you it was I think you were talking about being lucky. Maybe it was just that for you your skill set or your interest just
I just
aligned
think that
really well.
I think that my interest was developed because of my skill set, and because I did that at an early age, my interest developed along with my skill set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's
especially
it's
for somebody
mutual,
who's young.
What's it called? It's the one is kind of perpetuating the other in a sense.
Oh, so it's self-fulfilling.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Self-fulfilling, yeah. Where
it's self-fulfilling, but you're totally right. Not but that's not the right word. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's where your skill set comes from. The your
younger
interest.
You are when you develop a skill. This is my opinion, and my personal theory on interest and skills and how they correlate. But the earlier you decide and realize that you're good at something, and the more you develop that skill, the more you kind of become interested in it because it's your niche. And I think everybody likes their niche. Everybody likes to have a niche. Everybody likes to fit in and be recognized for something, right?
Uh-huh.
And so if you develop a skill when you're young enough and get recognized for that skill while you're young and are still developing and continue to develop it, the interest for it develops alongside it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's something I've noticed, because I'm a private guitar teacher as well. And I have a handful of students right now, and I'll compare.
Shouts out, because the Broklahomies podcast, the main demographic, despite popular belief, is still Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's
the
great.
Most popular demographic.
Your demographic is in the title. It works out.
Broklahomies.
But back to what I was saying.
From the Oklahoma.
Homies from the Oklahomas. Back to what I was saying though. The comparison I'm drawing is between 2 students I have. One of them, she's, in my opinion, a little bit too young to start music lessons. She's going to 2nd grade. She's 7.
Uh-huh.
And not only that, but her parents they seem to forget her music lessons all the time. And so we're supposed to be having them weekly. And I've been giving her lessons for 6 months now or something, and they still haven't bought the guitar for her that they said they would have when she started. And so she can't practice. Her parents kind of forget about her lessons because they hold the lessons at her grandparents' house.
Right.
And so I'll show up to her grandparents' house and no one will be home. Or I'll text them, and I've started texting them and reminding them, and they're like, oh, shoot, we forgot she's at camp right now, or she's at a sleepover right now, or whatever. And right. I mean, that's good that she's being involved in things, being socially active. That's super important also.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
She's not made any progress. She's made, zero progress. And that's it. She can't practice at all. She has lessons, once or twice a month because her parents keep forgetting. And so she's become discouraged. And, to her, music becomes a task. And so that skill isn't developing. Her interest for it isn't developing, and at this point, I think it's her best.
How are you going to learn how to play it? No, here's another parallel here. That's what I'm saying. Job seekers. Give me
the other half of that. I have another student. Uh-huh. Yeah, my other half of that. I have another student. He was a little bit older. He was about 11 or so when he started, and he at first he was kind of he listened to YouTuber rap stuff, kind of stuff you imagine an 11-year-old listening to, and he was creative and kind of weird and like I am. I'm weird as shit. But he was kind of creative and weird, so he had maybe a tendency to be good at it. Uh-huh. But his parents got him a guitar, and then when he started to get a little bit better, they got him a nicer guitar, which I'm not saying that spending money is what you have to do to get better, but he had something to practice with is the bottom line. Uh-huh. He had adequate tools to practice with. And not only that, he was consistent. His parents were on him about practicing, and eventually his parents don't have to be on him about it anymore because he practices. I show up to her his lessons, and he's like, actually, I have this new song I was curious about. He has all these questions. He listens to 80s hair metal now, which is the heaviest guitar music you can, or the guitar heaviest music you can find.
So he got submerged into.
Yeah, he submerged into it. It's become his interest, and his improvement has been exponential. And I think that's the difference, is what I'm talking about, going all the way back to skills and interest. And this is where this kind of personal theory that I have comes from, is that if you start to develop the skill, then the interest follows, especially if you're younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wanted to complete the thought. Please continue what you were saying about job prospects and whatnot.
No, it was mostly for the audience because I wanted to the concept that you're talking about with the first person. I wanted to solidify that and explain that for the audience first before going on to the second. Okay. But yeah, the first one that you're talking about, the idea was that there's a parallel with people who are looking for jobs right now, which is where you want to find a job out of college in a specific job function, but you haven't done an internship yet. And so the thing is, you're kind of fucked out of finding a job because every entry-level job that you have nowadays requires an internship.
Or just experience of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, if you haven't gotten that experience yet, then you're not able to actually get the job. In this case, getting the job will be having the ability to play the guitar, right? And if she never had access to practicing the guitar, then she's not going to be able to learn how to play it. Because the thing is, once you learn how to play the guitar, then you're able to get better at it because you're expanding upon your skills. There's a plateau when it comes to learning. It's the same with languages. Whenever I learn a bunch of those, And once you push through that, whereas the second person, it's just that's a very ballsy approach to learning something. You just kind of take it, you just take what you're interested in and you just go down that path relentlessly, and that's what it sounds like that kid did, and it worked out well for him.
Yeah. Well, he had an inclination for it, and I guess this is the first time I've really elaborated that concept out loud. Do what?
Like an affinity for it?
I think the emphasis that I should be putting is on when they're young. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, because if you develop this, if you have a skill, then it's easy to be interested in it because you're better at it than other people. Uh-huh. You're good at it, and so if you develop that when I guess it's the importance. What I'm saying is when they're young, but which goes back even further to what we were talking about earlier about schools. If you really want to solve the problem, that needs to be solved in primary education, not in college. Because at that point, if you have no hard skills, you have no like hard interests in anything, it's going to be really difficult to find a job that you're passionate about. And if you aren't passionate about your job, it's going to be way more difficult to really become like the best of the best at it.
Definitely. I can speak from experience in that one.
Yeah. So I was blessed to start when I was young. I started playing the guitar when I was 9, and I've expanded to just kind of other types of music in general. With all the guitars, what I have the most experience in at this point. I do like other types of compositions and whatever. I developed that interest and that skill when I was young. And not only that, but my high school and my middle school had really good music programs. I had a really, really awesome choir program that pushed me into singing and pushed me into realizing that the guitar wasn't the only like outlet for performing and for writing and for just music in general. And that we had really, really incredible programs for things like that in my school. And not every program at my school was like that, and most schools don't have any programs like that are just incredible at helping people hone in their hard skills and their interests. I just think that in the United States, especially, we just focus just on like general education bullshit, and then expect kids to know what they want to do when they grow up by the time they're done.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like right now it's a running trend with the whole baby boomer and millennial debate or divide that's happening, because people are kind of waking up to because the baby boomer generation, it was a lot easier to get a job in a different industry. That's my assumption, is because a lot of the jobs that were available were, one, like a lot of them were manual labor, and they required a lot less like skill-intensive labor. And then two, there weren't as many experts as there are today, because again, there's people going to college specifically. Like there's everyone going to college right now to be an expert in something, and so people who didn't go to college are just kind of fucked out of a job. And the education system, as you were talking about, is not helping at all with changing that, because it's you're creating generalists for a society that requires specialists.
Well, if you're really coming down to it, I don't think that college is really teaching hard skills either, because
depends on how you do it.
It does depend on how you do it. But if you're looking for a hard skill to develop, I think a trade school is way better.
It depends on what you define as a hard skill.
Like a trade school,
example?
or like a trade school or an apprenticeship of some kind.
But think about if you're programming, that's definitely a hard skill, and you learn that in college. You learn that in a public school too. You could probably learn that.
Yeah, you can learn that in college. I guess it's not applicable to all subjects, but for most things, trade schools, if you're looking for a hard skill to go into a very extremely specific industry, with the exception of things that are more recent, like computer programming, or what Antoni does, AI and machine learning and things like that.
I think
that kind of stuff you do
should be removed from trade schools. That's the big thing right now.
Yeah, that's
almost
probably the best way to
go to a trade school instead of going to a 4-year university. And I don't understand why that is. Why can't you just be a carpenter? That's still something people want, handmade furniture. Yeah.
Shit, if you're a good craftsman, if you're a person who likes just crafting and building things, if you're a person who likes to like that. Being a carpenter is the ideal job for you.
Right. Only makes sense.
I think the way you put it is probably better than the way that I put it, is that the stigma around trade school should be gone.
Well, I'm only here to listen to what you say and then try to summarize it because I was listening to it. So, but yeah, it's there's a certain stink that comes with going to a trade school, and I think one of the things that causes that is jealousy too, because a lot of people that go into trade school, they have a solid career that they can rely on. Whereas a lot of people that go to 4-year universities, they come out and they're like, well, I'm in debt and I also don't have money. How come these people that went to trade school are doing so much better than me?
Right.
But I'm still intellectually superior to the person that went to trade school because I went to a 4-year university. I have the cap and gown to fucking prove it. You know?
Yeah.
Honestly,
it also sucks
talking to you guys, the biggest thing about college, right? That one thing real quick is I met you and Donnie, Christy, Nick, Evan, all these different people. Parker, I want to add Parker too because he always gets left out. But Parker. I met all these special people.
Oh, you think we're special?
At college? Yeah. I talked to Micaiah almost every other day. And the thing is, that's the biggest thing that I got from college. It's the environment in which I can learn stuff. Not even it's just friendship. It's just I got a place where I can chill and talk with friends and explore ideas. That was the great part about university for me. I was an English major and I could give two shits. I was at a literary event over at a cafe somewhere, and I went in and I started hearing this girl ranting about all these different subjects, and I was like, I don't care. I just came here to work. And the thing is, I usually like the events that go on there, but it's just it's literature, and I didn't care about it, and it kind of shows in the way that I access, or I guess I look at literature nowadays. Not to disrespect it, because I respect a lot of literary figures, but it's college is useful, but it should be utilized in a way that's best for your future. And I think being able to explore the possibility that the best usage of your time is not necessarily in class, but talking to your friends about theories, that might just be something that's a better usage of your time sometimes. All right, we're at the end of the podcast. Let's do the Instagram handle, shall we? What is your Instagram, Austin Sladdy Daddy Jones?
It's just Austin Slade Jones. At Austin Slade Jones. That's
your middle name is not Sladdy Daddy?
No, my middle name is not Sladdy Daddy. It's just Slade, but you can call me Sladdy Daddy if you so please.
I mean, I do it anyways because that's my little. It's my little pet name for you, and everyone. Dude, no one has a pet name for me. Why don't I have a fucking nickname?
To me, you're Tyra.
That's right. You are one of the rare people that actually has Tyra-san. You actually do that to me. That's right. Yeah. No one else really does that. Yeah. It's interesting. Fucking Evan calls me Tai Tai, but a fucking ex from high school used to call me that shit. So I have fucking PTSD.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. So there's the Instagram for you. Instagram for Broklahomies is just Broklahomies, BROKLAHOMIES. The Instagram page is growing high up to the fucking sky, just like the American economy, as Trump claims. So, you guys enjoy this fucking 6th podcast, and talk to you sometime soon.
All right. Bye-bye.